I'm Cal Kellogg, and my hybrid lead core system has brought lead core trolling back into the spotlight for trout and salmon anglers all over the country. If you'd like the world's best lead core trolling rod, get on over to fishhuntshoot.com and pick up one of my iconic bright yellow lead core rods today. You won't regret it because you'll be yelling, "Fish on!" tomorrow. Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here. It's kind of a weird day here in the Sierra foothills. It's about 9:30 in the morning. It is mid-December, and we've got a crystal clear blue sky. The sun is out, sun is coming over the hills here, but we had a lot of rain overnight, and it is very wet and drippy out here. It's one of those kind of days when I love to hike. It's cool, so you're not getting overheated. Everything's wet and green, and it's pretty incredible. So we're having a good time. And I'm gonna make a series of videos this morning about nothing in particular, actually. My buddy Ricky24, he reached out to me, and about a year ago, I turned him on to the Audible app, and he is listening to books on his phone. He does a lot of driving as part of his job, and he got a lot of dead time on his hands, so he's been enjoying a lot of books on Audible, both fiction and nonfiction, and he's expanding his mind and being entertained at the same time. So anyway, he asked me what I'm reading right now as we approach Christmas, and actually it's kind of interesting. I just finished up a series of Hunter S. Thompson books, including one book written by another author about the life and times of Hunter S. Thompson. Now, you guys are probably, those of you that are familiar with Hunter S. Thompson, you're probably most familiar with his book and the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And, you know, he has the reputation of being a wild, crazy, drunken, drug-taking maniac that invented a concept called gonzo journalism. And he certainly is all of those things and more. But if you get a little bit deeper, his mind is extremely sharp, and his analysis is very, very good. And he is not a trained writer, like so many gifted writers are not trained writers. He was actually, this is kind of a good story, he was in the Air Force, and he was afraid of electricity. And basically, they told him, "Hey, good news, we looked at your aptitude test, and you are the perfect guy to become an electrician." And he's like, "What are you talking about? I'm scared to death of electricity." And they're like, "No, you're not. Your aptitude test says, man, you need to be an electrical engineer." So he is starting the classes, and he is racking his brain as to how to get out of the electrical field because, again, he is terrified. So he sees that the base magazine or newspaper, whatever it was looking for a sports writer, and he was not a writer, but he applied for that spot. And when they asked him, "Man, what's your experience?" he said, I was a sports writer for the local newspaper back in Louisville, Kentucky. That was his hometown, and man, I was good at it, and I've published hundreds of articles, and I can't wait to get started." And he got the job and knew nothing about writing. So he's a self-taught writer, and he went on to be widely acclaimed in the late 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s. Like so many other writers like Hemingway, he had some mental issues. He was definitely kind of bipolar. He self-medicated, and he ended up, at the end of his life, losing most of his talent. But I strongly encourage folks out there, if you're not familiar with Hunter S. Thompson and you are a reader, grab some of his work. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is a good book, but I think to really get to know Thompson, two books really stand out to me, and I've read pretty much everything he's ever wrote. His book about the Hells Angels, first-hand account hanging out with the Angels in Oakland in the 60s, is amazing. And I grew up in the East Bay, so there's that tie there too, but it is an amazing work. And the other one I would highly recommend if you just want to be introduced to Thompson and his work is Fear and Loathing at Rolling Stone, which is a collection of his Rolling Stone articles. He was there at the founding of Rolling Stone magazine and was a contributor for many years, often at odds with the owner, a guy named Jan Winner. But it's fascinating. It's multi-subject stuff, and you get a real taste of the cross-section of Hunter's mind and his work. I found his covering of the Nixon presidency, both in his book Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72 and his follow-up articles on Watergate to be absolutely cutting edge and extremely insightful. And he is a man of his time, but he's also a man of our time. He ended up committing suicide, I think, in 2006. But some of his writings ring very true today. For example, he was working on an article for years about the NRA, and basically his takeaway was that while he was an avid gun owner, the NRA was a sham organization that was wrought with fraud, money grabbing, and stuff like that. And we've certainly seen some of what he said come to pass over the last year with money scandals and stuff like that taking place at the NRA. We don't really do politics here on the channel. This is more historical stuff. But if you're into nonfiction and you want to read one of the greater minds of the last century for sure, at least one of the great American minds, in a lot of ways, that's Hunter S. Thompson. He was in a lot of places, saw a lot of things. He traveled to Vietnam. He lived in Jimmy Carter's house for 3 days. He met Nixon face to face. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. There's a lot of depth there. And it's also very entertaining stuff. So Hunter S. Thompson, highly recommended. And moving forward, I got about 2 hours left in my last Hunter S. Thompson book. And then I am going to read a book called, or I'm going to listen to a book called Jesse James, The Last Rebel of the Civil War, which I kind of know the basics about this guy, but I don't know the details. And he is a fascinating character that came out of a very tumultuous time in the country's history. And there's no denying we are in tumultuous times right now, and you kind of wonder what's going to come out of those times. Here's a quick example from my life. I was born in '67 in the East Bay, and of course there was the hippies and all that stuff. Well, a lot of the hippies were transformed into semi-militants, come the early '70s, and they did various things. We had the Patty Hearst kidnapping and stuff like that, and it actually kind of touched my own family. My dad had built a courthouse in Berkeley, and he still had the contract on maintenance, and some militants went there. They put chemical bombs in the planter boxes in front of that courthouse and basically blew it up. Did a lot of damage to it. They didn't physically blow the building up, but they did a ton of damage to it. And my dad was one of the guys tasked with going there and kind of cleaning up that mess. So tumultuous times, they often result in pretty tumultuous people on the backside. So I'm going to learn all about Jesse James. I think that kind of has a tie to our life and times here. Hopefully things calm down in our country. We will see. But I'm looking forward to learning about Jesse James, what he did in the war, and what resulted from that kind of experience. Anyway, that's it for me for now. That's what I'm reading Ricky 2.4. Ricky 2.4, he's reading Clockwork Orange. I read that back in college. That is a crazy book, which I have no desire to read again. It is blowing him away. It's his first time hearing that stuff. So pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, I'm going to get on with the hike. I'm signing off for now. We will put this under the heading of Cal Kellogg Unfiltered. We'll be back to UFOs and other stuff like that soon. In the meantime, if you are looking for Christmas presents, trout gear, anything like that, you know where to go, fishhuntshoot.com. Check out my store, and we have gift certificates now. So if you've got a trouter in your life, you don't know what to buy them a gift certificate for my store. I would appreciate it, and they will too. Anyway, I'm Cal Kellogg. I'm signing off for now. I will catch you guys later. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for all the support. Lucy and I, we're going to get underway.